Whether we know it or not, it seems we have a collective understanding of the elemental spirits that is passed down from age to age, without knowing exactly where it comes from. Tolkien is a mystic, in the sense he believed in a world we cannot see with the five senses, and his characters echoed an early version of the elementals known today through the occult. Paracelsus was born in Switzerland to a doctor in 1493 AD, or Common Era to some, and became a wandering healer himself. He wished to know the greater secrets of the world, and so he studied with local healers and folk magicians from Europe, Central Asia, and Egypt. He was well known for taking his learnings and turning them into volumes of books on alchemy, magic, medicine, and created the four divisions of elementals we know today as the Sylphs of the air, the Salamanders of the fires, the Undines of the water, and Gnomes of the earth. Though he gathered evidence for these elementals through his world travels, there is no doubt that Tolkien tapped into the same information that Paracelsus did and created his elves by combining two elements together, the air and water, which gives us more indication of their inner nature in ways that Tolkien's words could not even describe. In the Silmarillion, when the elves first appear, it is said, "The firstborn, the elder children of Iluvatar, conceived by Eru alone in the third theme of Anulindaeli, the eldest and noblest of the speaking races of Middle-earth, they awoke by the Kuvinian, the water of awakening, in the far east of Middle-earth, in the starlight of the sleep of Yavanna, as the sun and moon had yet to be created. The first elves to awake were three pairs, Imin the first, and his wife, Iminye, Tata the second, and Tatiye, and Enil third, and Enilie, his wife. At first the elves sang with grace and merriment without speech, but soon they developed speech and spoke with words, so their first name for themselves was Quendi, the ones who spoke with voices. Since the first thing they saw when they awoke were the stars, they also called themselves the Elder, people of the stars. Later, the name Eldar was used only for those who were part of the great journey to Amen. Here we see that the water and stars, the sky, were a great part of their creation, and there they dwelled in earth, bound to Arda for as long as Arda remained. But with Tolkien, we have another type of creature that was bound to the element of the earth, or the gnomes, as Paracelsus talked about. According to Paracelsus, the elementals are beings that live in the middle of the spirit world and the material world, the in-between where ether is said to reside. They live in the inner world of elements and are bound to their elemental realms of fire, water, earth, and air, meaning we mostly cannot see them unless they wish to be seen, and they rule the elements from behind the veils of the physical world on earth. Men live in the exterior of the elements, and the elementals live in the interior of them. Gnomes are the earth elementals, and it seems Tolkien found this idea intriguing to create two little earthly spirits on Middle-earth, the hobbits and the dwarves. The gnomes were said to be the lowest in vibration and lived closest to the earth, and even below the surface, it is said. Paracelsus said the gnomes knew where buried treasure was, and they were often ruled by their desire to keep their precious resources of the earth. They are said to be helpful as well as mischievous towards humans, and can often teach magic to humans if called upon. Dealing with them can be a challenge, since they respond to the pure intentions of the wizard or mage, meaning they are an enemy if a human chooses to do evil with the magic, and a friend if they are helpful with it. They were said by Paracelsus that they often held a proud but malicious nature. The gnomes take care of the earth, and are much like the hobbit gardeners of Middle-earth that Tolkien imagined. Here we see that the two elements in Tolkien's world were divided by the gnomes of Paracelsus, one being more stubborn, robust, and sometimes more dangerous, and the other being far more helpful and simple folk, like the hobbits. Next, the Salamanders of the Fire. Often referred to as lizards or dragon-like beings, they can be referred to as the Volcani, symbolizing they're living in the volcanoes on Earth or deep within the fire element. They are lizard beings that is said by Paracelsus that they cannot associate with mankind on account of their fiery nature, of the element wherein they live. Obviously, there is an overabundance of fire element, and so they would choose to not associate with the likes of man who is said to live closest to air in their element, because according to him, mankind is closest to God than even the elements in terms of morals and image. They were referred to as the jinns, these salamanders of fire. It seems Tolkien tapped into this idea and showed Sauron and his orcs as having the elements of fire within their beings, too much so that Sauron was really just a burning eye on top of a terrible kingdom. It is often said that Melkor, the Anur, that was the energy of Sauron, was engulfed in his own fires of hate, hence where the ring came from in the first place to try to control all of Arda. As we come to the elves of Tolkien, we learn that Paracelsus made his Undine, or nymphs as they are called, and the Sylphs, or Sylphids, the female version, as the helpers of humanity. They are good and kind, and live in different elemental atmospheres than humans do. The Undines were said to be water spirits that resembled beautiful humanoid beings, and they lived in water or around it. They were healers, as water is said to be a healing property of man. It is no doubt that Tolkien made the elves very watery elements in their inner natures, and when the Silmarillion says this, it is said by the Eldar that in water there lives yet the echo of the music of the Ainur more than in any substance that is in earth, and many of the children of Iluvatar hearken still, unsated, to the voices of the sea, and yet know not for what they listen. Something about the flexibility, the gentle power, and strength carried within the Undines and nymphs of Paracelsus captured Tolkien's heart and mind when he created his elven folk of Middle-earth. It was said by Paracelsus that the Undines' mission on Earth was to beautify it, and it is said that the Undine or nymph can have relationships with men. When he married her or gave her children, she would then become immortal, living closer to God now. It seems Tolkien almost switched this idea around, making the men involved with the elven women immortal by the grace of their love. The last elemental that Tolkien was inspired to integrate with the elves is the Sylph, which is the air spirit or fairy. These elemental beings were said to live on top of mountains and in the realms of the air element. They are good and full of morals, helping mankind, and they are proud energies, though so you do not want to cross them. Though they are likened to angels and help whenever they can, appearing whenever they want to a person, this reminds me of the Valars of Tolkien, which are the light beings of Valinor, the fairyland of Arda, where nobody dies and everyone is at peace there. The Valars are also a remnant spirit of the elven folk of Middle-earth, so they are bound to fairy just as much as they are to Arda, or known as Earth. I said it before in another video, Tolkien was a Catholic, but he was a mystical one that read from the Akashic records of the collective and looked deeper into the natures of energies in the world and how they move together and affect mankind. To have humans embrace their elven nature is one of water and sky, in which the balance of the cosmos is reached and moving closer to the divine is realized inside of mankind.